I've filmed this post probably half a dozen times now. I've said I didn't want to talk about it, and then I've talked about it. I've said I didn't want to know more, and then I've gone to look for more information. I am mad at people on many sides of this, and I'm sick to my stomach at the people that have been affected by this and will likely continue to be affected by this as it plays out. When a state authority investigates a company, the logical option is to let it play out. The logical option is to believe that a legal system is put in place for a reason. And I don't want to live in a world where we can read tweets and a couple of articles and immediately decide from our armchairs what the punishment should be. And I don't want to live in that world. And for people that think the justice system doesn't work, removing it's not better. And to the people that are ready to throw out blame and say they've quit Blizzard when they already weren't supporting Blizzard, what are you threatening them with? You already didn't support their games, so now you're going to double not support them? So the people pouring salt in the wound, that doesn't make it better. Blizzard is a company that for some of us has shaped childhood, young adult years, college, somewhere you went after long days at your first jobs. And so to all the people that have never supported Blizzard games coming out and telling me how glad they are that they never have, like they've known that this was where it was headed. What do you think you're supposed to make me feel like? Yeah, that's so great. Thanks for finding me while I'm dealing with this and just jabbing me in the side over it. Awesome. There are people that have been affected in ways that are hard to fathom. And even if we assume for a moment that the truth is somewhere between what's being reported by the state of California's department and Blizzard executives that say it's all being blown out of proportion. Let's assume it's so blown out of proportion that they're assuming that there has never been a better place to work than Blizzard, and it's been literal perfection. The cynic in me says that odds are the truth is somewhere in between. And there's not a single point on that scale that makes this okay. Even if only 10% of these allegations are true, and there's only 10% within those allegations that are true, and it's all grossly exaggerated, it's still crap. Blizzard is a company that is not beyond redemption as a company because companies are not people. I don't care what any free speech bullcrap we can donate to political campaigns law says. They're not people. They're made up of people. And I don't see how any Final Fantasy fan can't believe that a game can be reborn as a word choice. But it takes big change. It takes personnel change. It takes policy change. It takes risk. And this week, Blizzard leadership has come out and said that, shockingly, they can't find any harassment in their executive office. Oh, wow. Way to look real far and wide there. Man, you mean nobody's been harassing a vice president? Mind-blowing. Truly shocking. You mean Fran, who's been working there since what? 3/4 of the way through when everybody was working from home anyway? Didn't see any harassment from whatever fancy work from home office she's at? Amazing. Amazing. Truly astounding. There could be harassment in Bobby Kotick's house, and I assume it's a large enough square footage number he wouldn't find it. So, to see this stuff coming out and the only response be, meh, we don't think so. That's incredibly frustrating. And then to see devs saying that there's not much work getting done, yeah, that makes sense. It sucks. To the headlines that are going to read World of Warcraft halted development, well, that's not accurate either. Didn't halt development. Ian and Jay didn't send out a company-wide email that said, pencils down, we're going to pay you while we get through this. No, that's that work is not getting done. Not that there's not work that's supposed to be done. Real players paying for real services being denied services doesn't go back in time and undo this. It doesn't change anybody that's currently in a situation where their job sucks because some people apparently can't have basic respect for another human being. I don't see how any way out of this wins. There are people saying they should just shut all of Activision Blizzard down. Great. And then all of the people that are well connected go get jobs. And all of the people who haven't felt like they could stand up because they need every paycheck don't immediately get jobs. And I'm sure that correlates just perfectly with you know, the people who have allowed this to happen and the people who are affected by it. To the people that say, well, this is why they make crap games. The world's not that simple. What's so frustrating about this, the reason I haven't wanted to talk about it, is because it's not that easy. I would love to say that the world is, all the good things in the world come out of good people doing the right things, and that bad people can't make good products and good services. That bad people get what's coming to them, and they never make it up the ladder. I would love to say that it just isn't that straightforward. And I would love to say that every developer that has the ability to stand up and say, I'm not going to work until this is dealt with, is going to be able to do that, and that every dev that wants to be against this will be able to, but some won't. Some will be in a position where they're not pro-harassment. They're not pro utterly crap work circumstances, but they are pro paying student loans or medical bills. The world is more complex. This whole situation is being drilled down to it's about this, but if you go watch Hogue Law's video about it, the discrimination pay side of it gets even more complex. The reason I don't want to talk about it is because you can't get it down to 22 minutes. You can't get it down to, if we all just quit games, that it's going to somehow undo what was done. Or that if we all keep playing, it's going to keep happening. Throughout this week, the only thing I do know is I've been uninstalling Blizzard games. As of this point, I have an active WoW subscription that's still paid through whenever it expires. And I don't have a single Blizzard application on my computer. It doesn't make me some hero. It's just how I'm going to get to sleep at night. Knowing that my wife and my mother work in male-dominated industries, and that while I can try to envision what it's like to me, ultimately it's easier for me to wrap my brain around what it would be like if this was happening to them. I've met people who have worked for Blizzard in the past, and even some who work for Blizzard still, and what sucks about this is that there's no way to say I want to support them and not support the whole thing. I try to represent the devil's advocate. I try to keep a balanced opinion. Say, what if the shoe was on the other foot? This gaming company has been a titan of the industry and has been a place that many of the people that have worked there, regardless of if it turns out that some of them are crap as human beings, on a purely work standpoint, it was a life's goal to get to work at Blizzard. For me, my goals were much smaller. It was a life's goal as a kid. One of the things I'd always wanted to do was attend a BlizzCon. This is a crappy situation. And this, while many of the previous versions of this post, I tried to tackle what you can do or how the different sides of it got where they are. Ultimately, I would say, watch this like a natural disaster. Watch this like there are people that are affected a lot more severely than you. There are people at Blizzard that have gone through things around this as this has come out, that have experienced things that I hope nobody can relate to. I hope they're things that aren't repeated anywhere else, but they are. The world is like that. There are people that are out there rejoicing that this company is struggling and seemingly getting a smile out of watching it burn. And all I can think is I hope that's their way of grieving. Because nobody's winning here. This isn't good for other games in their space. This isn't good for a shareholder that bet against them long term, seeing an entire market. There's nobody here that wins without a caveat. There's nobody here that really truly comes out ahead. The world is just worse when things like this happen. And I think the reason I've had trouble recording this is I've had trouble getting together a logical and calm thought that says, I am frustrated at Blizzard, but I'm also frustrated at how happy some people seem to be that this is damaging Blizzard. Like this is some payment from the fact that they messed up a situation, the Blitzchung stuff, or that they ruined their favorite game, or that they didn't have a patch on time for World of Warcraft, that somehow this all justifies it. No. No. This isn't something that balances the equation. It just sucks. Wouldn't matter if the games were good right now. Wouldn't matter if they literally said, hey, we're shutting down Blizzard tomorrow. It doesn't fix any of this. What does fix it is a lot more work. It's time and it's work. It's going to take a lot of people, like a natural disaster, a lot of effort to clean this up. It's going to take a lot of people, a lot of time to go in where they'll never be able to piece back things that were broken, things that were destroyed as this happened, people's lives. A different group of people is going to have to come in here and clean this up. And some of them may be working at Blizzard now, and some may not be. But nobody should be happy this happened. Nobody should be happy that this is somehow... That's got to stop. This is gross. The things happening there shouldn't be happening in any company anywhere. Many of them are alleged, but at this point, there's a ridiculous amount of smoke. Action-wise, I know that I can decide how I want to support the community and how I want to, decide how and when I want to cover their games, how and when I want to make my voice heard. To people that stay in, there is a logic to, if it has to get better, who do you want to clean it up? So to creators that stay in the space, I get it. To creators that want out, I get that too. To devs, to employees that want to leave, I get that. To ones that want to stay and see if they can help turn this around, I get that too. I do. It's an individual choice, and it's an individual journey. Some people have been put in these positions with a lot higher stakes. Some of these people have been forced to endure a lot worse than feeling bad about the situation, or than having their relationship with a gaming company damaged. Some people have had tragedy brought into their lives. I don't know. My favorite thing about gaming is when it just gets to be gaming. Is the times when we get to just be mad that a mage isn't as good as a warrior in some DPS race or whatever. Something that doesn't matter. That a European guild or a North American guild is going to be the one that can kill a boss the fastest after it releases. That one gaming company can have more active players from the same population than another. That's way better. That's way better. This is incredibly frustrating. I don't know what my job is. I know I have a whole bunch of recorded content where I compare WoW and 14 on equal footing. And sometimes I think WoW's doing something well, and other times I think 14's doing something well. And I've been pre-recording it for my upcoming vacation, and I don't know. Maybe I air it. Maybe I just delete all the work I've been doing. I know that me having to delete some posts is a whole lot smaller tab than what the people working there and the people that have worked there and the people that have gone through this are having to pay. I know that my tiny little self-reflective world is nothing on the scale of people who've made full-time careers around this. When wondering what you can do, and when wondering why somebody else might be responding differently than you, for a second, just try to put yourself in their shoes. People grieve differently. People are going to respond to this differently. There are going to be people that want to be there to help rebuild, and they think that if they aren't there to rebuild, that there won't be somebody there to help make sure that what is rebuilt is better. There will be people that want to distance themselves. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer at this point. I think there's still facts coming out, and I think it's really important that we allow truth and fact and objective measure coming out of the legal side of this come out without sensational headlines of WoW halts development. Did not halt development. Jay and Ian didn't send out an email that said pencils down. They didn't. It didn't halt development. It's incredibly important for the people that suffered, are suffering, and may continue to suffer at this company or any other, that we handle this very accurately. So just try to imagine it. Final Fantasy fans, imagine if this came out, that this had been going on at Square Enix. Just picture it. No, it could never. Just for a second. Imagine the emotional journey you'd be going through. Or whatever company it is that shaped a huge portion of what you've defined your time in gaming as. And if you can't do that, if you can't empathize, if you can't picture where these employees, the families of these employees, the communities surrounding these games are at, if you can't picture that, then just be respectful of where they're at. Some of them are going to be hurt and angry. Some of them are going to be hurt and looking for another game to just enjoy. Some of them are going to want to talk about it. Some of them really are not. There's been a lot of negative things in and around Blizzard over the last couple years. And when we talk about ARR versus Blizzard, it's easy for me to say, well, we're talking about old Final Fantasies, so let's compare it to old World of Warcraft, and we can have this nice conversation. I can say, no, there is this other good thing. But when we're talking about the current state of these games, Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft, head-to-head, Shadowbringers versus Shadowlands, Final Fantasy, from a content perspective, has been destroying World of Warcraft. And from a gaming company standpoint, Square Enix has been rocking Blizzard. And that's not because the either has been perfect. Shadowbringers has had its delays. They've had issues. Square Enix has had titles that have struggled in the last few years, but Blizzard's setting a very low bar and can't seem to get it together. But those aren't the things that are hard to deal with. Bad content and bad content schedules, it's part of the industry. It happens. It happens. I just rewatched the NoClip documentary today. It happens. These companies make mistakes. Content is no big deal. How they relate to their companies and how well they communicate with the communities that surround them varies from company to company and can be incredibly frustrating. It can. When you feel like a company's not listening, it's incredibly frustrating. Even if they are listening and they're just not talking back. Or it doesn't seem like they're processing the message. They hear you and then they do something else entirely. Maybe I'm not saying it the right way because you're clearly missing the words. But that's just part of gaming. It's something that as a community we're used to. We're used to some companies being better at listening than others. But this is different. Legal ramifications pending. This is different. And this is not should a gaming company or should a gaming company not be involved in social issues or geopolitical issues outside of their company. What is their role? That is a hard subject. What is their role in social movements in countries around the world? What is their role in dealing with certain governments around the world? That's harder than the previous things, but this is still harder still. Because ultimately they have the right to say, we're a gaming company and we just want to focus on gaming. And you can't really fault them for that. Not every company has to be a moral and ethical bastion of going out in the world and trying to make it in their image. Sometimes a company can just make widgets. And we are used to companies that ultimately say, you know what, we're just gonna play by, we just want to collect money for our goods and services. Nothing to see here. There's plenty of companies that do it. And they operate differently all over the world as far as how they interact around social issues. Do they support various groups of people at various times? And that's incredibly frustrating. The duplicitousness of that is incredibly frustrating. But this is harder still. And the reason I think this hits harder still is because there's not even like a cowardly, well, we're just a gaming company. We don't really want to have anything to do with that. This is inside their own family, as these companies always put it. We're a family. We're in this together. We've got our employees' backs. And not, hey, times are rough, we had to lay people off to protect the company. No, there are people struggling inside the family from alleged abuse from other members of the family, and the response is, but did it happen, though? Did it happen? I mean, I think while they were working from home, it probably dropped to almost none. I think that this is shocking. We on one hand have been complying with this state agency for 2 or 3 years straight, and on the other hand, this is the first I'm hearing about it. On one hand, we went to mediation, and we think these claims are all false, and they're based in old things that are outdated. We've changed since then, and they're not in good faith. On the other hand, they're totally out of left field and not based in anything. The reason I want to be clear that World of Warcraft did not halt development is because, honestly, I think it makes it look better than it is. What it is there are devs that are not getting work done. That is very different than leadership stopping this. So far, publicly facing, which is all Blizzard ever gives us, they don't ever communicate. Public facing, all they're doing here is hiding behind business as usual. It didn't halt. And any dev that feels they can stand up and make this their stand is running the risk that they get replaced. I'm sure there's some legal expert that can tell me whether or not that's wrongful termination, but I don't know how everybody else lived through the world of COVID, but a lot of my friends and family would not be in a position to live a few months without income while they had a wrongful termination suit being fought. So the fact that devs are standing up once again and saying this is too much, and leadership is writing letters that are saying, how could this, I mean, I looked in the back of my Ferrari for evidence and I just didn't see any. I checked all 20 million square feet of my home. I went into every room of my executive suite. I even checked behind the executive espresso machine, and there wasn't anybody being mean to me. Instead of saying, clearly we have a listening problem, and clearly it's not just we don't listen to people that don't play our games. We don't listen to people that do play our games. We don't listen to people who help us make our games. This is not, we think in hindsight Mike asked some unfair questions in an interview because we answered them poorly, so now we're just not going to take interviews around World of Warcraft. Fine. Go be cowards. But these people work for you. And right now they're saying they're hurting. And even if 99% of this stuff turns out it's exaggerated, some of it's not real, let's assume for a moment only 1% of everything being claimed is real. 1%. Let's assume that 1% is 2 years ago, pre-COVID. Does that make it okay? Does that make it a place that you can just say, proud to be us, crushing it? I know that from a PR speak, they have to come out and protect the shareholder price while they investigate. I know that they can't just come out and admit fault because they're accused of something publicly, that they have literally a fiscal responsibility to protect the value of that company. And when that value is not well protected by poor decisions, the people that ultimately pay the price are the people that get laid off, not the people at the top. So honestly, it's in everybody's best interest that they act slowly and responsibly. But the question now is, will they do that second part, or will they just act slowly? I'm not asking for a snap judgment here. But I am saying you got to do something. Because I haven't really been playing your games recently. as I've gotten more and more frustrated. And then I got to where when people asked me about the current state of your games, I didn't really want to talk about 9.1 other than commending people in the world first race. And then I got where I didn't really want you to even have hard drive space on my computer. And the worst part about that is I'm nobody. I don't work for Blizzard. I've never worked for Blizzard. I don't drive a big number of their subscribers. I don't generate an enormous amount of World of Warcraft content. The amount I've spent on their games, because I don't really do microtransactions, is my sub times however many months it's been on since 2004. The games I bought, some of them have been digital collectors. Bought a couple of BlizzCon tickets. Not much. So if I feel that I can't justify hard drive space, one of the cheapest commodities in this day and age, I don't really know how you can ask employees to show up to work and feel good about making something. They're passionate about the game, but now they have to wonder who they're making it for. Any employee that didn't know this stuff was going on, and I assume they're out there, or didn't know it was to this degree, does now. I have no idea how they deal with this. I have no idea how an employee can go through this. I've been at plenty of points in my life where I can't just quit a job, even if my boss does something distasteful. When I've grown to hate a job, that's when I start looking for a new one, not when I quit. And there's a gap. There's a time when I'm at a job I actively don't want to be at. There's a window. Depending on the industry, for some people, those windows can be months or years long. So if employees weren't in that window, I assume they are now. Not all of them, but some. That's who you need to fix. Don't worry about me. You take care of them and you put out good content on time. Most people are like me and will reinstall. You make Blizzard Reborn with happy employees that are well taken care of, making good games on time, monetized fairly, marketed responsibly. Most people will forgive this. Final Fantasy is built off of a story of forgiveness. A little different than yours, but you could get there. I'm pretty upset. And I don't really know how to move forward. I'll probably continue doing what I've been doing, but with less of an emphasis on World of Warcraft. It's a bummer to not have access to StarCraft in my free time, and it's a bummer to not have access to Diablo, but it is a small price to pay if it sends even a single unit of data that says, you got to get your house in order, Blizzard. So, if you're not going to come out and make a brave statement, which you don't have a history of doing, then go be silent for a time, which you're quite good at. Stop with the platitudes. Stop with the, we had no idea. Shut your mouth and focus internally. There are people at your company that care for each other and care for that company. And you need to go find them. You need to get this thing back on track. There is a culture there that is going to make it hard to tell who's making it worse and who's making it better. You can't just say, oh, well, it was a couple of bad eggs and we already threw them out. No, 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 no. This is going to require substantial change. It's unfortunate for anybody on the leadership team that felt they were doing what they could and then has to get tossed out with the bathwater, but I don't know. I'm not a corporate consultant. I have no idea how you fix this. But I do know that saying you care and putting a new lapel pin that supports some cause and showing up to Blizzard and BlizzCon digitally and opening up with a heartfelt apology by "we're going to do better" is wearing a little thin. And considering you're not good at communication, I would say at this point maybe stick to actions. We're going to need to see some real change. You got enough money in the coffers. Get it done. I'm so sorry to the people that got hurt worse than me. I hope things get better. For you. I have no idea what some of the people affected by this are going through. And I'm so sorry.